You're in a conversation and someone says, religious freedom has been used to justify all kinds of evil, like war and slavery. Claiming religious freedom is just about protecting privilege. What would you say? Some people think standing up for religious freedom is really about clinging to power and privilege. They assume that Christians who defend religious freedom just want to protect their own dominance in society. But is that really true? No. And here are 3 reasons why. Number 1. From the beginning, Christianity has taught that all people have inherent and equal dignity. Christianity teaches that all people are made in God's image, or the Imago Dei. That belief is the foundation of the Christian teaching about human dignity and value, and it turned the ancient world upside down. In fact, it led to the end of the barbaric gladiatorial games. It curbed the widespread practice of infanticide and changed the way society thought about slavery. Until the early church, everyone in history accepted slavery as a fact of life. But the idea of the Imago Dei led Christians, most notably the Apostle Paul, to realize that all people are created in God's image and are worthy of equal dignity. Very early in the history of Christianity, Christians took a stance against slavery. Christian communities pooled money to buy slaves and set them free. A 5th century letter from St. Augustine tells how a group of Christians freed an entire ship full of slaves. In the Middle Ages, Christian King Clovis II, influenced by his wife Bathilde, issued the first anti-slave laws in history. 13th century Christian philosopher Thomas Aquinas wrote that slavery violated the law of nature. Throughout the following centuries, at least 4 popes openly condemned the slave trade. In both England and America, the abolition movement was led by Christians. And Christian pastors like Martin Luther King Jr. led the civil rights movement. Today, many of those at the forefront of the struggle to end sex slavery and human trafficking around the world are Christians. While certain groups in the pre-war American South tried to use Bible verses to support race-based chattel slavery, their wrong interpretation of those verses was well outside the mainstream of Christian history. Because of Christianity's teachings about the Imago Dei, Christian communities have more often worked to protect the vulnerable. Number 2. The idea of religious freedom also comes from the belief of the Imago Dei. Just as Christianity brought about the end of slavery, it also uniquely promotes the idea of religious freedom. Both teachings come from the belief in the image of God and the inherent dignity of each person. It's impossible to separate respect for the human person from respect for religious freedom. Christianity asserts that all people are worthy of equal dignity. The early Christians taught that people must be free to follow their conscience in matters of religion because each person bears the image of God and therefore has the capacity and privilege to make meaningful moral decisions. That's what phrases like free will or moral agency mean. No one can force another person to believe something against their own will. From its opening pages, the Bible teaches that every person is made in God's image. That core understanding of human dignity means Christians must stand for freedom, including the freedom for every image bearer to live according to their deeply held beliefs. Number 3. Religious liberty, by definition, is equalizing. It's freedom for all people, not just for one group. Religious freedom is an application of the Golden Rule. Do unto others as you would have them do to you. That means if Christians want the freedom to follow God according to their consciences, without undue interference from the government, they must also defend the rights of all others, fellow Christians, Muslims, Jews, Hindus, and even atheists, to peaceably do the same. When true religious freedom is prized by a society, people of every faith win. Take, for instance, the Supreme Court's 2020 ruling that upheld the rights of Catholic churches in New York State to safely gather during COVID-19. That ruling also upheld the rights of 2 Jewish synagogues to gather. Wins like these don't just guard against government overreach for one religious group. They ensure everyone's freedom to peaceably live out their faith. So, the next time someone says that standing up for religious liberty is about protecting privilege, remember these 3 points. Number 1. From the beginning, Christianity has taught that all people have inherent and equal dignity. Number 2. The idea of religious freedom also comes from the belief in the Imago Dei. And Number 3. Religious liberty, by definition, is equalizing. It's freedom for all people, not just for one group.